Beautiful day, beautiful time, and today we're going to talk about a few things, and we're going to talk about conflict resolution. That's the talk I have chosen for today, conflict resolution. In the first place, I would like to clear a bit of air. There is another concept of conflict management. These are two different things, actually, for me. These are two different things. What makes them different is, when you talk of conflict management, it almost amounts to having something but managing it. So, what you mean to say when you say conflict management, you keep it there but you manage it. But I'm of the opinion that we should go for conflict resolution, removing it actually. Because if you keep it there, the undercurrent will always play against you. Somehow you have to try to remove it. And that's what I understand, that we have to go for conflict resolution rather than conflict management. Before we go into it, I would like to talk a little about what exactly is conflict. When you talk of conflicts, we understand that our existence in itself is no less than a conflict. Our coming to the world is no less than a conflict, especially in modern day world. Whether someone should come to the world or not, that gives rise to a conflict. Whether someone should have a child or not, there is a conflict. And the conflict becomes uglier if it is a matter of, unplanned affairs, a missed contraceptive or something like that. It becomes uglier, right? Now the question is, I say, what's a conflict? Conflict means when there is a difference of approach. There could be difference of belief. There could be difference of attitude. You approach a problem in a different way, and your companion, your partner, looks at it in a different way. Because we do not carry the same eyes, the same mind that are so similar. That's not possible. Even if we may be very closely connected in our personal life, in our professional life, yet the dissimilarities cannot be wished away. That are there, that will be there. And we must learn to live and, move forward along with all these differences. That's why I said conflict is difference of opinion. You have different opinion of things. It's not necessary that everybody should think like you. Why should someone? And collision of thoughts. You are you, exclusively you. You cannot be someone else. And someone else never ever expects someone else to be you. You have your own thought process. You have your own approach towards things. Something that may make you weep, there is every possibility someone else may laugh at the same. You look at something as a tragedy, but someone else may look at it as a comedy. For example, if I say, there is a man who drinks a glass of juice, thinking that it will give him a good health, but the next moment suffers a heart attack. And yet there is someone who consumes poison to put an end to the life, but he survives, and survives more healthy. You can look at it in different ways. You can call it a tragedy that the man drank a glass of juice and suffered a heart attack. Now, what is it for you? It could be comedy for you, or it could be tragedy for you. It depends on your outlook. So the question is that collision of thoughts could be there, and then there could be clash of interests. That could give rise to a conflict. My interests, your interests, his interests, her interests, and there are a host of people whose interests are there, involved everywhere, whatever we do. So that clash of interests, that can give rise to the conflict. And then there is difference of attitude and approach, etc. All these things have to be taken care of while we think of conflict resolutions. Now, these conflicts are of two types in the first place, I believe. Internal conflicts and the external conflicts. In my own understanding of things, I place internal conflict at the base of all the conflicts. Now the question is, what is internal conflict? Internal conflict is when you are groping within, when you are struggling within, when your own capacities and capabilities go in multiple directions, when your heart wants to do something but your mind stops you, when you want to marry a particular person, you love him, her so passionately that you cannot imagine life without him or her, but simultaneously you have been put on a warning by your people around, don't do it. You win him, you lose us. You win her, you lose us. And then begins that struggle inside you. What do I do? Do I lose him or her, or do I lose them? It's a dilemma. That struggle, this kind of conflict, to be or not to be, age-old say. That's the question. We come across these dilemmas, and these dilemmas give rise to an internal conflict. And as I said that, I believe that is the fundamental of base of all the conflicts that we come across in our life. Internal conflict is it's more devastating than the external conflict. And then the external conflicts. External conflicts could be any. It could be interpersonal, it could be social, it could be domestic, and it could be professional. The question is, what are the areas of conflict? My question is, what are not the areas of conflict? Where is it that we do not face conflicts? Conflicts, as I said, are born before we are born. Conflicts are born before our birth. Before we come to this world, our share of conflicts has already reached here. Now, these external conflicts could be multiple, varied. As I said, social, these could be interpersonal and other. Now, there are some causes that we have to understand. That what exactly are the causes of conflicts? Now, the first one that I talk about is, I would change the sequence of the words here. The first thing that I would place as one of the major causes of conflict is prejudice. Being prejudicial. This is an innate negative tendency that human beings share. Prejudice means when we form an opinion, which we usually do, most often we do, unconsciously, not deliberately, but we do. When we form opinion about people, situations, and things that are around us without knowing the facts, without making an attempt to research to know the reality of it. That's where we become prejudicial. I do not like this person. I don't know why. Maybe he has some big hair or a long nose. That's why I do not like him. Although I don't have to work with his ears or his nose. My dealings with him are, he's a trainer, I'm a learner, or he's a learner, I'm a trainer. But this prejudicial mindset, sometimes we form opinions about people without knowing much about them. Sometimes we take decisions about situations without knowing much about these situations. So prejudice is one, and then it leads to bias. When we are prejudicial, it leads to our biased approach. We decide about some people, without knowing the reality of the things, without knowing the facts. And then there are other factors like fear and insecurity. I react in a certain situation preemptively, based on my bias and based on my prejudice. I react preemptively. I fear. I develop that feeling of insecurity that the person A, B, or C is going to harm my interests. It's a preemptive approach. And I start reacting accordingly. I start reacting, believing that this person is going to harm my interests somehow. So that's another reason for it. And then there is that element of mistrust and distrust. We end up at times without, again I say, Maybe sometimes a smaller incident happens wherein we believe that someone has betrayed our trust. Although he may not have done it deliberately, but we take it for granted that he is not the person to be trusted. We always take him like that. We do not think that maybe it may have happened mistakenly. He may not have done it deliberately, so that mistrust and distrust again gives rise to this conflict. Then there is another very important reason that's paramount, and that's the communication and coordination failure or gap. When we are not able to communicate properly, when we do not listen to the people carefully, when we do not say exactly what we mean, many a time we end up saying what we do not mean, and many a time we, never mean to say what we say. This communication gap or this communication failure is one of the major causes that gives rise to conflict in professional places, in workplaces. When we are not able to explain ourselves, I'll put it like this way. It's not like when people do not understand us. Let's put it this way. When we are not able to explain ourselves, when we are not clear in our own, perhaps we must put it like this, that I failed to explain. I failed to put my point across. Not that people failed to understand. I would take it this way. So this communication gap has to be bridged. It has to be there. It's one of the causes. And then there are other cultural differences, ethnic differences. There are so many. And then I have added one more here. Modulus malignity. At times this is again strange. This is very strange. Based on that, what I said, prejudice. Sometimes we oppose people in the name of nothing. Although we don't have a motive added to it, but we end up opposing people unnecessarily. That's what we call as modulus malignity. I don't have a motive, but still I oppose. Why do I oppose? I don't know. Do I benefit from it? I don't know. Not at all. But still I oppose. That could be one more cause. These are some psychological reasons. And then, before we go into the solutions, before we talk about what could be the possible solutions for resolving the conflicts, I would like you to go for a small activity. And the activity is very simple. I would like you to go through your life, turn the pages of your life, and see, do you think that you have been through conflicts?
Yes.
All of us have been,
Yes.
and smaller and bigger. I wish that you could bring to your mind the ugliest conflict that you were caught up in. And that, just imagine that situation when you thought that everyone around you was right.
Yes.
But you believed that you are right. But in the end it was proved that everyone was right and you were wrong. Or it could be the other way around. When you believed that you were right, but everybody made fun of you saying that no, you're wrong. But in the end it was proved that you were right. Just imagine a situation like this. Just turn back the pages of your life and just write down a few points. Just talk in your group and just narrate to your group what was that situation when you were right and everybody was wrong. But ultimately it was proved that